Welcome to our virtual career fair presentation on careers in finance. Today we have David Geiszler from the First National Bank of Bottineau. He's going to talk about his path to career in finance and other options that are out there. Thanks for being with us, Dave.
Hey, thank you, Amy, and glad to help out today and discuss a little bit about the banking and finance and how I become where I'm at today. And it's been a joy, let me tell you that. First of all, I just let you know that I'm from a small town of Kramer, North Dakota, which I'm very proud of. Graduated from Upham High School in 1971. I then attended college at the Dakota College in Bottineau here. At that time, it was NDSU Bottineau, 1973. I graduated and then I went on to Minot State, graduated in 1975 with the emphasis of accounting and economics and had a BA degree. Still had a lot of farm roots in my blood, and after graduation, I farmed and sold insurance until November 1st of 1976. And believe it or not, I'm still at the same bank that I started in 1976, so I've just finished 44 years in the banking and finance industry. Now, that would tell you all that it must be a pretty darn good field, and I would recommend this at this point. It's a lot of diversity. You have a lot of opportunities in the banking and finance world, and I happen to be with an independent bank, but there are corporate banks throughout North Dakota and throughout USA, of course. Just for example, there's approximately 100 cities in North Dakota that have banks in or finance companies. And I would guess approximately there's over 300 banks in North Dakota itself. So the opportunities for employment is ongoing. Now, some people may not work as long as I have in 44 years, and more so probably not in one institution. In my case, I had an opportunity, several of them, to move to other locations. But at this time, because I was close to my hometown and my opportunities of moving on dealt with moving my family to a new city in North Dakota or Minnesota, I chose not to, and I stayed right here at First National Bank. There's, along with banks in finance, of course, there's credit unions, savings banks, insurance companies. There's also car dealerships, machinery dealerships. They all need some type of finance people to run their business. So the opportunities in North Dakota alone is plentiful, and a replacement of those people are necessary just because of the retirement time and opportunities that one would have. Just in regards to the banking careers, just in our bank, there's lots of different employment opportunities. We have tellers, we have personal bankers, we have loan assistants, we have mortgage loan officers, installment loan officers, commercial loan officers, compliance loan officers. Of course, as you all know, technology. We have just recently hired a full-time tech person. As you're well aware of it, everything is getting more orientated to online banking or any of the internet necessities that the bank can provide a better product to their customers. In our bank, we do not have a human resource officer, but in the larger banks, they have those HR people, accounting officers, bookkeeping. We have an insurance agent. Some institutions have a multiple insurance agency, if you like the insurance aspect of it. And then, of course, we have a trust department here. So again, there's more opportunities there in the trust officer position. In regards of, education and training, accounting background, farm background, production, agriculture background, insurance background, all of these areas in the banking and finance in an institution, there is approximately every opportunity of a person going to a trade school versus to a 4-year institution, a person getting a master's degree, or even a doctorate's degree. All of those forms of education are important, and one would direct each one to the ideal area that you would focus on. In my position here, I started out as a ag loan officer, actually was an installment loan officer. Due to the fact that I lived on a farm and I farmed a year after college, I transferred into the ag loan department of our bank, and since then been there and still are, I guess. And but through my length of time here, I become an executive loan officer. I have been given the opportunity to be on the board of directors. I do own some shares also in the bank, and that's just an opportunity that you all would have in regards of pursuing your career in the banking and finance. It also will give you an opportunity to move on to a different field with a background of this finance and economics. I briefly mentioned the education that I had. I would suggest, if possible, to attend at least some type of a trade school or training for the opportunities that may come about. You not necessarily need to have a 4-year degree like myself. One of the big things in the banking industry that we're into sales, if you think about it, because we have to sell our product to our customer and then provide that product successfully for their business or their personal needs. And so communication skills are very important, and where people can trust what you say and that you can follow up at the same case. In regards of salary, I can tell you, just because of the fact my longevity, my salary has increased, I would guess, tenfold since I started. The starting salary now is much different than when I started, but at a beginning level of a loan officer with benefits and healthcare, full healthcare, you would have equivalent of probably around $40,000. Of course, healthcare is a big issue, and retirement is a part of that. But starting wages and that's about 5 times higher than when I started. However, that's back then, and today is now, and the cost of living has gone up too. In regards of my employment and my achievements, the institution has been very opportunity-wise in regards of increasing my salary. And at this point, your salary could get into the six-digit figures probably much sooner than it was prior. But just a real good opportunity to have a good family living income for your living expense. In regards on a typical day of work, generally we are required to work about 40 hours a week. I have a tendency to work a little longer, and maybe a little longer as I age, only because of my productivity, but generally it's 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. The receptionists are probably a little less hourly basis. They usually come in at 8 o'clock and done at 4 o'clock. So if you look at a good style of family living, and particular in raising children in the future, those opportunities give you a lot of time for family activities. Of course, one of my favorite things of working here is the staff that I work with, but the customer base. I really enjoy people. Some of the least favorite tasks are, like I think most people, is some of the paperwork that we need to do on a given day, or a processing time that is needed. But that's all in the work schedule, and that's usually in every course of business. I just want to make one mention, and I think it's worth mentioning in regards of banks and North Dakota. Very proud of this, is that if you're not familiar with what sometimes people call the Bank of North Dakota, North Dakota is the only state in the USA that has their own bank owned by the state of North Dakota. Kind of unique. It was started a long time ago to assist the farm economy and the commercial businesses. And so that in itself is kind of interesting, and I'm very proud of North Dakota to have their own, as we use them as corresponding banks and participating with loans under our policy. So I have kind of just briefly touched on all of that. I would suggest that all of you people look at some type of a finance or banking career, because it's just not what you may think. It's not just that loan officer or the president or the vice president of the bank walking around town. We're all good, common people in regards of the work that needs to be done in the banking industry as customer service. Any questions, or Amy, if you have some questions, feel free.
The most common job that I think of with the bank is the loan officer. If you're going to be a loan officer, do you have to have a 4-year degree, or are there other qualifications they look for?
In regards of the loan officer position, and I'll speak on the ag part of it, generally speaking, you could probably come into the banking industry if you really wanted to focus on the ag part of the portfolio. No, you would not need anything more but a high school degree, except that you would want to we'd probably want you to come from the farm, so you understand what farming is all about. We would also like you to have, and you would need, some accounting background, or some of, I'll say it this way, good common sense in regards of what a customer needs and what can we provide for them, and do I understand what the customer wants. And that's why I referred to a trade school If you go to just actually, I believe DCB is offering a 1-year academic program under ag. That would be sufficient. I don't know the follow-up on all of that, but that would give you the first step of the ag background. So there you are. You could go to 1 year at some trade school or DCB, pick up an ag course, and the opportunity might be in front of you right there, and you may not have to go to 3 more years of school.
What kind of specialization is there in finance? I know you mentioned there's a trust department and there's insurance. What other sort of specialized areas are there?
Well, I guess in regards of those are probably the primary ones with the loan activity. We like on the trust department, estate planning. Of course, when it gets into the actual estate planning, we would probably call on the attorneys to assist, because you need legal things written down properly on documents. But and of course, that's where we get into partnership with our local communities or the community, that we may need to team up with the attorney in town. If we do not have an insurance agent in town, we need to team up with them to help our customer out. So our specialty is connecting different aspects of what your needs are if we're not offering them ourselves. We handle all forms of investments, but like the savings certificates and the trust department would have their own aspect of investments. If we see that we need to call on someone else, we may call on, for example, I'll just throw an example out. In Bottineau here, if we didn't have any opportunities, or if we weren't satisfying our needs, maybe we would call on, I'll say, Brandy Simpson on Thrivent. Can you help do some more estate planning? Because maybe they or that office specializes in that. But we will do our own investments, But generally speaking, people like a variety of contacts to make their best decision on what they want to do.
So if a student was interested in going into banking, what would you recommend they do now in high school?
I think at this point, I would suggest that they take some accounting, some economics, communication skills. So some type of, speech, we're out and about in the community. I would also, at this point, to suggest IT, I'm a little too late on that, but because everybody's into IT, but you need to know what's going on in IT, and you need to understand it and grasp it right away. Prior to this, IT was always a big part of it, but now everything's on IT as we talk today on Zoom. So, but, accounting background, communicating skills, sharpen them up, and just know what you're talking about,
Always be willing to learn more.
That's exactly right.
Okay, well, we sure appreciate you taking your time and sharing with us about your career and all the ins and outs of finance.
Well, it's been really good, and I just want to somewhat make an example that, why would I be in this business for 44 years if I didn't enjoy it? It wasn't worthwhile, and so it's a lot of fun. It's great. So thank you again.